Hello, and welcome to this edition of Our View Talk Show. Our View is a talk show for the 50 plus generation, or the baby boomers. And I am Salima Hakeem Mohammad.
Hi, I'm Todd Stofka.
Hello, I'm Shelley Curry.
And we have a new guest host here, and he is?
John Oliver Mason.
Yay, thank you, John. And
Well,
thank you
welcome,
for
John.
tuning into
Welcome, John.
Our
Glad to
View.
be here.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, how did you get into hypnosis? I mean, you
No,
have the
it's
voice
not-
for it,
The
really.
voice for it, thanks. No, I think it was, I got a chance to study neurolinguistic psychology.
Okay.
And really that was sort of the art that came out of it. I saw the easiest way to utilize that and help people.
And have you always had this voice? I mean, the voice is like, wow.
Yeah, maybe since I was born.
Now, do you sing? Because that seems like a singing voice also.
No, there's no singing
No
involved.
singing.
No. Just talking.
Okay.
Good radio shows.
And we have John Oliver Mason. Hi, John.
Hi, Salima. Hi, Todd. Hi, Shelley.
Hi.
And tell us a little bit about yourself, John.
Well,
And first of all, where are you from originally?
from the northeastern part of the state around Wilkes-Barre, the old anthracite coal region,
Okay.
is very economically depressed up there.
Really?
And so, the old story of the country boy going to the big city. In September '81, I moved from there to Philadelphia to begin classes at the bachelor's work in history at Temple University.
Okay.
I got my bachelor's in May of '84, and in that time I was studying up there, I had an op-ed column in the Temple News, the student newspaper, and they were all very well received. Dealing with the contemporary issues, foreign policy.
Is that where you got your writing bug at?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And I graduated in May of '84. Got my bachelor's in history. I'm still a keen student of history. I can't.
And why history? What was it about history
I
that,
don't
that
know.
intrigued you?
I don't know, the whole human story. The
Okay.
human beings developing a civilization.
Okay.
Their lives as individuals and as part of a community and as part of a nation, coming together to build a nation, a society, a civilization. It's always very fascinating.
What are some of the most interesting things that you learn about history?
Well, the unfortunate thing about, like in American history, is that an oppressed people campaigns for decades to alleviate themselves of their depression, like the African American experience with slavery. There was decades of abolitionist activism, and eventually the inevitable came the Civil War. And the slaves were emancipated, finally. Their physical slavery came to an end. However, there's still a problem of their economic status. I mean, they just thrown aside without any any economic
Right.
strength to make their freedom really real, because
And exactly, and we really were not even free then. We were supposed to be physically free, but a lot of slaves still had to work for their masters because they didn't have anywhere to go. So they were saying, "Oh, you're free now. Free to go where? We have nothing." You know, we were promised another American promise was 40 acres and a mule. I'm still waiting for mine. You know, and when they say pull yourself up by the bootstraps, you didn't give us any bootstraps. We don't have no boots.
I mean, that's a very romantic notion, but it's not always true. I mean, for every kid coming out of a poor country village or a poor neighborhood, there's always thousands and thousands of people still in there, still trying to make a living, still trying to get by, still trying to feed their families, pay their mortgages, pay their utilities, and keep their noses above water, and hopefully have some set aside for some fun. And those are the people that really concern me. See,
Now, what was your growing up like? What was your upbringing like?
oh God, it was horrible.
Really? Why so?
See, all through school, elementary, junior high, senior high, Boy Scouts, church, I was, by the other kids, I was teased, bullied, harassed, insulted, and it was like did it and there were no repercussions, they could get away with it, and the adults acted like I was the cause, it was my fault or of some sort, and
And bullying is real. I was bullied in high school. I later became the bully, but I was bullied very badly in high school, and now we're beginning to see that they're focusing on bullies. Before they wouldn't. Back in the day, bullies just get away. That's just kids being kids,
Yes.
and they wouldn't pay attention to bullies until the bullies started doing things, started acting out. Because you're right, they act like it's your fault. You're the victim, and they act like you're doing something wrong instead of trying to see why this kid is bullying or why this kid is picking on other kids. It's almost like even my daughter was bullied, and I would have to go to the school and they would tell me, well, it's just kids being kids, but that can have a lasting effect on a person.
yeah, kids have been known to commit suicide
Exactly.
due to the bullying.
Exactly.
And
Did you find writing helped you with this? Is this how you kind of got into this ability to write?
well, it was after I got out of that area and moved to, got out of the Army in '79 that I started keeping a diary. It was back in around April of '79, I started a journal, and I kept at it ever since.
Okay.
And it gave me writing practice to express myself, and it's a form of psychological self-therapy. It's just to vent your feelings or anger, put them all down on paper.
And that's something that we can even talk about for kids. If you're out there and you're feeling bullied, just put your thoughts down. Write it down.
Yes. And
How about you? I'm just wondering about you. How are you? You seem to have it all together and everything. But you honestly, you seem to be like one of those kids that might have been the bully.
I've been the bully.
Yeah. Because you're like the clean cut all American kid. You're cute. You have that smile and everything. Those blue eyes. So how was high school for you? And when you say you were a bully, how were you a bully? Were you like really, really bad?
There was times where you decided, for whatever reason, you wanted to pick on somebody. Something that seemed, maybe what you experienced, that odd behavior or whatever, and it just became sort of the mass, group. You got a couple friends, and you identified that thing, and you start making fun of it. Maybe someone made a mistake with their words, or made something like that, and then you kind of joke around it, and then it just kind of like escalates a little bit more, and the more you see them kind of cave, the more empowered you seem to be, right?
Wow.
Now,
You know?
speaking of, and I apologize if I missed it, John, I wanted to ask, what was the cause of your being bullied? Was it your ethnicity? Was it your character? Was it your siblings? What?
yeah, I was like starting at first grade. I mean, I don't know what was so damn horrible about me that they did it.
And with getting back to Todd now, and I think that other children did that to empower themselves. But I think that sometimes we have to look at the bully also. What are they going through at home? Because I found out later on that some of my bullies, actually a couple of my bullies became my friends. And I found out that they were being abused at home. So I think for somebody to pass bullying off like, oh, that's nothing, I think that you have to see both sides of bullying. I think you have to see the bully side and you have to see the victim side, because the bully may be a victim at home.
At home, misplaced
Right.
anger.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened to me for my dear parents. I mean, they were just as mocking and insulting to me as any of the kids, and they,
Your parents?
my own parents.
Wow.
I mean, every time I made a ambition or said something intelligent, they laughed at it. I mean,
Why do you think that is, John?
I don't know, it was just people of limited experience, limited mind.
They probably saw that from their parents and maybe their parents' parents, and it just kind of, just rolls, that way, and they don't really know any different. But you know what, I really want to applaud you, because one of the things when I'm working with people around sleep issues, right, is I use that same journaling method with them, because a lot of people, when they go to bed at night, they're physically tired, and as they lay in bed, they don't turn their brain off, because their brain starts to do that to-do list, right?
Yes.
So get that, like you did, is that journaling you found really beneficial, and not only just what your daily things are, but whatever emotions is. It's a very effective way to get it out of you, without exploding or becoming the bully, and going into a rage. Is that you do the creative part of ejecting it out, putting it down on a piece of paper, because then you have the ability to close the book, right?
Right.
You could even crumple it up, you can burn it, and further remove it from your your psyche and your ability. So I applaud you for really stepping that way.
Thank you, Todd.
Yeah.
And that was that anger that was the rage about being picked on, kind of forms my activism. I'm a labor guy,
Right.
and very much of a labor.
What kind of job did you have?
Well, for 30 years, I worked 30 long, unhappy years.
And I know, because you recently retired.
Yeah, from the city of Philadelphia,
Okay.
and trying
And
to.
that was boring for us?
Well, I wish it was boring. I mean, trying to explain to people how our procedures for getting documents is just like, and they act like they want either, like their brains freeze or they throw a tantrum. I mean, this is a procedure, and they pick on me. I mean, they know, I'm sure they have some idea that I was just a clerk, just doing my job, trying to make.
And that's what you did, you were a clerk?
Yeah, that's my job, but they just threw their tantrum at me. I mean, I'm just a little cog in the machine. I didn't build the machine.
I didn't make the procedure.
Right.
I got to document it. I got to listen to you and process it,
Yes.
But you're the face of it, so
Yes.
unfortunately you get the brunt of it during that
Yes,
time.
like people act like I don't want to go there anymore. It's just.
Well, and we were talking about bullying, Shelley. Did you ever experience anything like that in school?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Coming up, I was bullied. I was bullied to the effect that I had to fight. There was actually crowds around me after school because I was in the middle fighting someone.
And I find that, knowing you and knowing your family, your history, I find that amazing because, of who your mother is.
Yeah.
And that you seem, she's so empowered. She has empowered me. So how could you not have felt empowered, or why do you think that you were bullied?
Basically, I guess it was something that they saw in me. My mother raised me, yes, and she's a very empowering woman, but she empowered me when it was time for her to do so.
Okay.
I was also around a lot of other influential people, like my grandmother, for instance. The way she portrayed life to us, everything was about love.
Okay.
So we were loving. I mean, it was like love, hi, peace.
My
peace,
family the
peace.
same way.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Exactly.
And then,
love people and treat people the way you want to
yes,
be treated.
exactly.
Yeah,
But then
exactly.
that was in our world there. But then as
Exactly.
we got out into the world, this is when it changed for me. I was in the lot playing, and another little girl was up there playing, and I didn't want to go along. We was taught not to be followers.
Right.
And I didn't want to play, but she wanted to play, and she punched me in my face. And I have to admit, she stunned me. I didn't know what to do with that. I wasn't around children that were that aggressive, so I ran in the house. And this is when the lessons was taught. What, did you hit her back?
Exactly.
No.
Same thing.
Wait a minute.
Exactly.
Now it's like when somebody hits
Go
you,
back
hit them
outside.
back.
Yep,
So that's when the
exactly.
lesson started. And
Yeah.
then after that, when I started becoming in the circles, now I had a name. I used to be called Mrs. Joe Frazier because now I had to be taught how to physically fight. Okay, now it was the next lesson.
Right.
Can you understand what I'm saying? And it went from that to a mesh of my, as you call it, flower child into wanting to take up for the underdog.
I
You
would
know,
agree.
yeah, it's not right, it's not right. Oh, why don't you speak up? Now I'm telling people, why
You were
don't you speak
empowering
up for
other
yourself?
people.
Exactly, or if we're all for the same things, I'll be the voice of us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, when that would happen to me, I would try to fight back, I would try to resist, but I would be the one to be sent to the principal's office, and I'd be told, don't fight, don't be violent, be peaceful, let it roll off your back.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
it's all right, it's okay. It's okay, it really is.
I mean, those teachers,
You know,
to me, they were just such gutless cowards. Yes, I'll say it, gutless cowards.
You know,
Well,
this
it
is
is.
amazing, and now at your age, you're 60 plus, we're same age, and to still have that, and this is what I want people to see. Do you see this, man? Do you see this? This is from childhood, and this stays with you.
The most important part that I think is to get a healing.
Exactly.
We all need to be able to process and to be able to live with what it is that had damaged us in the first place. You know, because I know as I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you talking, there's a lot of damage that I have went through. There's a lot of damage in my life today that I'm trying to live with.
Right.
You know, but you have to learn, like I tell my grandson all the time, process it, because you have to be able to go on. Don't let this be the stopping point of your life. You know, process it, come on, so we can move on.
And see, but in our generation, we weren't taught that. We didn't know that. You know, we were just told, oh, just grin and bear, or oh, just get over it. And the teachers didn't take that bullying seriously. The administration didn't take it. Like he said, he would be sent to the office for defending himself when he was the one, he was the victim.
Right.
Wow.
So how have you taken, so you've got this time coming through, growing up, coming through, working for the city of Philly. How has that really kind of jumped into your writing now, where you're...
Well, a lot of the past experiences do kind of lead into my poetry. It's like my revenge. I mean, it gives me a platform, a way to vent. It's like I'm telling you, it's like I'm telling them, this is my revenge against them.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
That feels good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I have a little bit of a story to tell. I just got off of completing Masters of Science work
Oh, good for you.
at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
Congratulations, yes.
Yeah. About the same time that I was going to get ready to go to UMass campus in Amherst for the session, I get this Facebook notice from the class I grew up with at Dallas High, the 40th anniversary class reunion. So that's an interesting picture. The past or the future? I chose the future to take the class. And so, hey, you had your chance, guys. Drop dead.
Okay, so now did you go to the reunion?
Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no. I took the class, and I have now my master's in science
Okay.
in labor studies.
Congratulations.
It's like an extra phase in my activism for the movement.
And I understand that you were telling me at one time that your father was racist?
Oh God, he was horribly racist. I mean, both my parents loved the Klan. See,
Wow.
yeah, my father was always big on the N-word because he bragged about how the Klan put the in their place.
Wow.
And my mother was bigoted in a different way, well, more religiously bigoted. Catholics and Jews were a real buck up her tuchus. Like, she always kept trying to tell me that the Pope was out to take over the country and Jack and Bobby Kennedy were kind of his advance team.
Wow.
And she could be so damn rude about Jewish ritual. I'm sarcastic. Like, it was just, she talking about like it was so stupid and contemptible.
Wow.
Hey, it's just our way of doing things. Hey, why are you the
She
judge?
didn't know any better, unfortunately.
God, yeah.
Parents, yeah.
She did not. And to get back to your literacy, because I hear you talk about the way that your mother and father, their prejudices or whatever, and you don't appear to be that way, even
Yeah.
though you were raised in that.
I was going to mention that exactly, because he's an activist
Yes, for
people.
against that. So, you know, coming in that and then dealing with that at home, and I know you probably said it before, is that when you started writing? How did you know that that there's something opposite, what I'm feeling is opposite of what I'm living with.
Well, it was just, I knew that there was a world out there beyond the little rural township and these little rural mines. I knew I had to get out there. I wanted to get out there. And I tried the Army, that didn't work. And a semester at the College of Staten Island in New York, part of the city university system. Now I moved to Temple, and I stayed with Temple, and I stayed with Philadelphia for about 36, 37 years.
Okay.
And I don't plan to leave anytime soon.
And also, you know, I know that you act with a friend of mine,
Vivian
on her show. What's the name?
Conversation
Across Time. And a little bit about that. She takes people, like she would take President Kennedy and Malcolm X and put them together. Like she puts historic figures together, and John plays some of the characters, and he's actually a very good actor. So now, how did you get into that, John?
Well, when I was working for the city, I hung around the Register of Wills department. Like, there's a lot of working back and forth between the two agencies. And one of the guys works there at Wills, says he had a friend who needs an actor for her show, and I told him to pass my name on, and she got back to me, and I connected with her and did the research on my character and stuck with it. I mean, I always had the idea maybe I could go into acting, and I stuck with it. Here I am.
And you know, honestly, when you act, is you become a different person. You become the person, because honestly, John and I are working on something together also. And when you act, it's like you become a different person. It's just amazing to see the transformation.
Thank you. I hope I can use it as a skill set.
What's it like when you become that character?
Well,
Give us an example of one you did recently. What was it like?
Well, one of the characters I played is John Foster Dulles in discussing certain foreign policy activities that the Eisenhower administration did. You know, with like the first one I did when I played Dulles. We were discussing the overthrow of Mohammad in Iran in 1953 and reestablishing the Shah. And I did some research on Dulles and on the CIA overthrow program. They call it Operation Ajax, and research. And to me, he was just this totally aristocratic, elitist person who wanted to exclude the public from any discussion about foreign policy. And the whole world he lived in was in high finance. He was a very senior partner in the elitist law firm Sullivan and Cromwell, which dealt with multinational corporations and foreign governments.
So now you said that when you do your acting, you research the character before you do that. I think that's great, because a lot of people that act, I think they do that. But the fact that you have these characters to pull from, you have something to guide you.
That's right. Yeah, right. It's like somebody. I have to do very educational for me about Dulles and the overthrow of Mossadegh in Iran. I did some serious reading about that.
So what was it like for you when you embodied it? So it's almost like you took Dulles on and became Dulles. What's it do for your psyche and how you enjoy that character?
Well, I have to focus on being Dulles. I can't be John Mason anymore. I have to get into the mindset that while the camera is rolling, I am John Foster Dulles, senior partner of Sullivan and Cromwell, Secretary of State of the United States, determined to overthrow a government that just doesn't suit America's interests, and to hell with what anyone thinks.
Wow. Now, I see that you have your poetry books there. Grace us with some of your poems.
Okay.
And what is the name of this book?
Well, this one is called Mutterings, my
Okay.
first poetry volume. And here's the second one, Out of the Box. I have them published
Okay.
on the Create Space, which is a branch of Amazon.
Now, if somebody wanted to find out more about your writings, where could they go?
Well, Mutterings and Out of the Box are, you can order them on Amazon.com.
Okay.
Just type in John Oliver Mason here, there they are.
Okay, well, let's hear a little bit,
Okay.
pick out some of your favorite poems and grace us with them, please.
Okay, this one is Reality. Reality hides our nakedness, which shows through our clothes. Reality is a prostitute sells itself for $10. Reality is the paper bunker we hide in when the leaves fall. Reality is the calm down drug the nice people take when a thing upsets them. Reality is the fist in our face so we cannot see.
Wow. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's how it really is.
Yeah.
And then now, when you write your what do you draw off of when you sit down to write your poetry? I write poetry also, and I will be singing some of my poetry also. And what do you draw on? Do you draw on your experiences, or where does that come from?
Well, my experiences, my observation of an issue, like I see a vital issue, like right now in my head I'm working on a poem about people venerating the Confederate flag. I mean, all these people saying, well, my ancestors died for that flag, but do they understand what the flag represents to some people?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, and in Germany, I mean, you don't see any statues for Hitler or Goering.
Exactly.
Therefore, why should we have statues for the leader of a genocidal regime like Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee?
Exactly.
I mean, these guys were traitors to the United States.
And even Philadelphia, why do we have a statue of Frank Rizzo? I had a run with Frank Rizzo, honestly. That why should we have a statue to him, honestly?
Right.
You know, so let's hear some more of your poetry.
Okay.
That was very interesting, John.
It was.
Okay.
Very thought provoking.
Thank you. Here's another one. Naked and not ashamed.
Okay.
You have to take risks. She stands there, no clothes to hide in, nothing to protect her or shield her. But she doesn't care. She wears her skin like a sacred robe, an offering to the most holy. And if you avert your eyes to her, the shame is yours, not hers.
Wow.
Very
Wow.
good.
Thank you. And this one is a high lie. They go up to the podium, cameras all around them, and tell the people the good stuff about pollution, about war, about poverty, about death. Do we believe them? Might as well. They have suits and offices and desks and titles and respect. Why? Wait a few years, and you'll know it isn't so. Because they lie, some may die.
Wow. Very good. Very good. Well, you know, that was very interesting, and I thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing that and sharing part of you.
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you, Salima.
And honestly, I want to talk about that a little bit more. You know, like I said, we're over 50, and you see people here still suffering from being bullied as children. So take heed to that. Teachers, administrators, you really need, and parents, you really need to understand how very bad bullying is. And thank you guys.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Wonderful
Thank
show.
you.
And thank you for tuning
Thank
into
you.
this edition of Our View. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.